Welcome to Healing with Dr. Kim. If you are looking for a medical practice that treats you very well and knows how to make you feel a lot better, look no more. Dr. John Kim and Jeannie Bowers are with us today to tell us more about Georgia Integrative Medicine. Dr. Kim and Jeannie, thank you for being here. I'm excited to learn more about your practice, and I want to start with you, Dr. Kim, and tell us what Georgia Integrative Medicine really is. What is the practice about?
The practice is about integrative medicine, and integrative medicine is a term that was invented by Dr. Andrew Weil, my mentor. And integrative medicine means simply using all the appropriate tools, Eastern, Western, conventional, alternative medicine, putting it all together, solve difficult medical problems for our patients.
What brought you to Noonan and your medical background? How did you decide to put all this together?
When I was growing up, I studied a martial art under a martial art master who taught me the rudimentary system of how body works in terms of Chinese medicine as well as anatomy. And you might say that is my first exposure to integrative approach, because that use anatomy as well as Chinese medicine anatomy very highly effectively. And so that's where I got first introduced to it. And then what happened is that as I completed training with Dr. Andrew Weil, I was looking for a place to put to use all the things that I learned from Dr. Weil. And actually, I came to Noonan about 10 years ago. And a year after that, I moved my practice to Tyrone, and Jeannie came with me, and we've been together for about 10 years now.
I will tell the audience from personal experience, I came to you back in the late spring of last year with chronic pain in my left hip or sciatica, and you helped me with acupuncture, and it totally went away, and it's not been back. But later in the show, we're also going to talk about some other things that you've done for me that really has made me change. And the fact that I came off of 7 chemical medications to supplements and other things that you've guided me on is tremendous, and I feel so much better. So I have a personal interest in this because I love what you've done. And Jeannie, I know that you're a licensed counselor, and I think part of what we talk about is mind and body experience. What exactly is that?
Well, it's harnessing the power of the most effective healing tool you have, which is in between your ears.
Which is oftentimes a problem with lots of us.
You have to get your mind going in the right direction, and the body will follow with your attitudes and your beliefs. And I like to use whatever works. Faith, prayer, meditation, guided imagery, music, art, whatever mind-body tools that our patients are comfortable with using, that make them stronger. I want to utilize those tools and help them be empowered to take charge of their own healing.
Tools is a key word here, because that leads me into what tools you use to help heal chronic pain or other things, depression, autoimmune diseases. What are some of the tools that you too use in your practice from a medical standpoint?
And I think the tool question is a very appropriate one. It's an excellent question. The tool, there's an outside tool of what we call what you would think as acupuncture. You would think low-dose naltrexone, allergy drops, but those are what I call external tools, but they're internal tools that makes Georgia Integrative Medicine different. It also is a reason I think that we see more miracles in our clinic. We see amazing results, and that secret actually comes from the organizational health, and that comes from the idea called servant leadership. And what I've done was to create an organization where we're serving not only our patients, but we wanted to create a place where people are thriving. So I'll give you an example that Jeannie, when I first met her, she was a very, very capable legal secretary who was going to school for master's in psychology, and she expressed an interest in this area, and I've challenged her and also materially supported her and helped her to finish the master's and also obtain licensure in counseling. And as she's meeting her current standards to get to the full licensure, we've made sure that she has the infrastructure and the support that she needs so she can succeed. And it's the same thing that we've had a lot of people who've worked with us in the past, and all of them, I would say, are in better places. We have 2 interns now. They are in medical schools. We have several medical assistants working full-time with very well-known practices. So the idea of the internal to serve our employees and help them to be happy and help them to express themselves and getting out of their way and giving them support, I think that's the real secret. And then what Jeannie does, for example, mind-body medicine becomes more than just a mind-body medicine. It becomes a way for her to integrate everything in her past and bring it to the healing that she's with a client. And as for me, I feel like the relationships that I have with my team members and with my family drives or provides the secret ingredient of our practice, which is love, the care, the care that you felt, and the love that we can give comes from that relationship. So now, externally, the techniques, of course, include acupuncture, more specifically what we call PENS acupuncture, which is specific style of acupuncture that is not part of the Chinese acupuncture. It's American acupuncture. It was made in America, developed in America, but it is really well suited to treat and cure a lot of forms of chronic pain. And then the next thing is low-dose naltrexone, which has its origin in treating overdose, but in low doses, we're finding that it can increase endorphin levels in a person, which then can reset the body in many different ways. And so that's another important tool that we use.
Well, I have to tell you that when I came to you in your clinic as a patient, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, because in traditional medicine, as I have had over the years, if I went in with a certain type of illness, a particular doctor would treat just that illness, and I don't mean to discount other physicians at all, but almost with blinders on. You and Jeannie looked at my issues from more than just what that one issue was. You looked at what's causing it, what was causing it, and as we continue in the show, we're going to learn, and we'll share more about how you pinpointed what put me in the hospital for 4 days when it was misdiagnosed by some other physicians. So I think it's clear that you do integrate everything. So the name of your practice is Right On. And so when we come back, I want to talk about what some of the things that you treat and how you treat different things, and then we're going to learn more about maybe what Jeannie does, and then we're going to talk to a patient or two. So stay with us. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly with more from Healing with Dr. Kim. Welcome back to Healing with Dr. Kim. As you saw in our first segment, there's a lot about integrative medicine and how we can improve our health by seeing a practice like Georgia Integrative Medicine. Dr. Kim, what are some of the issues or illnesses that you specifically see that you can really make a difference in how someone feels?
Yeah, I think we talked about the chronic pain issue. One of the things that makes it easier for people to understand what we do is we help patients with very complex problems, and we provide them with solutions and give them advantages that their conventional medicine doctors will not consider. So some of the things that we talked about, the low-dose naltrexone is very helpful for chronic pain, but it also has uses for resetting the immune system. So we also see a lot of patients with autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases mean anytime the immune system goes haywire and attacks itself, lupus, MS, but they're the lighter side of autoimmune diseases, of course, include allergies like food allergies and environmental and respiratory.
Or celiac,
yes,
which I have.
Yes, gluten allergies. So we treat, we are a problem-focused practice, and our job is to give them solutions and advantages that conventional doctors are not able to offer. And part of that has to do with the fact that I think, as you may remember, that the first visit in our clinic can be as long as 3 hours.
Yes.
And that time really gives me an opportunity to research ideas, research hypothesis, if you will, because every good integrative medicine is really based on good medicine. So I will spend a lot of time, as you saw that day, going and doing the research and going through each symptoms and trying to come up with an idea, working hypothesis of what's going on. Of course, most patients come to me with either a symptom or diagnosis, but integrative medicine, the first step is to make sure that we're working with the correct ideas or correct diagnoses and explore to make sure that the ideas are correct. And not always it's correct, and I think that it has to do with, I'm seeing that all the doctors are pressed for time more and more. And I think that physicians try very, very hard, but they can't counteract 10-minute visit. They can't counteract 7-minute, 5-minute visit. And in our practice, that I've created this luxury called time and to go the extra mile with research, I think makes a big difference. And research to me means looking at medical textbooks, but also looking at the late-breaking journal and studying what that has to offer, and then finally looking at thinking outside the box. Once you understand the problem, then and going outside the box gives you additional tools to treat these difficult medical issues.
I know in my particular instance, when you looked at my lab results, the light went off in your head and you went, oh my gosh, because you had 6 months difference in lab results, and you saw immediately where I was deficient and why that was causing a particular issue. And I'm not sure, I'm not saying that another doctor might not have done that, but it was clear to you that what that was, and then you immediately gave me the supplements and the acupuncture to help that. And I think that really made a difference with me. And when I was there for those 3.5 hours, I knew that you and Jeannie both were focused on me. You weren't worried about the next patient because you didn't have a lobby full. And I think that's key. So let's talk a little bit. What is your stance on medical marijuana in the medical industry right now?
As you may be already aware that we are one of the progressive states in the South, and we allow low THC oil, which means that the content of CBD is still active. And I find that we are one of the practices that we chose to be registered with the state so we could register other patients to it. And I've already seen amazing results with patients, especially with seizure. We have I've seen a patient who actually had uncontrolled seizure, and first visit he had to my office, he had an uncontrolled seizure.
Wow.
Right then and there, with all the medications that they have tried. It was making actually some of the medications, the seizure got worse, some of the medications didn't work, and the side effects were really having huge effect in destroying his life. And then within months of starting medical marijuana, he says that he no longer has seizures that are uncontrolled. I think that in 6 months he had one seizure that he had a waking seizure, which is different than the normal seizure where he's out. So I think that in certain selected patients, it can make a huge difference. We have other patients at the Georgia legislature, I think, is looking at expanding the use to PTSD, autism, and I'm very looking forward to working with patients who have those issues once it becomes legal.
Right, right. As we wrap up this segment, let's talk briefly about the situation with insurance. You currently, your practice does not accept insurance. Was that a personal reason for you? Is that a restriction from the insurance companies? Help me understand that.
So the 3 hours that that I spend with the patient, if I were to code and bill insurance with 3 hours, and the insurance company saw that I'm billing 3 hours, number one, I don't think there is a code for 3 hours.
Would they believe it?
Well, that's the issue. I think what would happen is that an alarm would go off in their automatic computer AI will, their system will flag me, and then there'll be audits. And the other part is that the reason why your physician cannot see you more than 5 minutes, 7 minutes, is because of insurance companies impose that on them.
If they on that practice.
Exactly.
Okay,
so
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, so if they want to stay in business, then they have to follow the rules that insurance company gives them to be able to be profitable, which led to the 5-minute visits. I think that in this day of artificial intelligence, Google, Siri, there's still room for person-to-person connection, and that attention that we give them from our heart, the love that we can provide for them, I think that all is part of our secret ingredient in our clinic, and I think that's the reason why we see miracles can occur, and part of that advantage that I want to create, I'm not willing to compromise on that.
Right.
So we have, and a lot of patients, we know that for us to not take insurance, actually we make less.
Right.
And we bring home less. But what we are happy about is the results that we can create, because some things just isn't meant to be done 5-minute visits.
Oh,
and I think
you couldn't have helped me in 5 minutes. That's clear.
Yeah, because without that, the research, I think, as you recall, I think almost 2 hours we're in the room researching, and then, light bulb began to go off on my head saying, oh, this may be something, when most physicians see a condition in very limited time, almost like a reflex. In my case, it's the opposite. It's really looking at different possibilities and coming up with, how do I understand this this symptom? Is there alternative diagnosis
how
that
it
I
relates,
should consider? Exactly.
how each thing relates.
Exactly.
To,
And to best do that, I think that leaving the insurance out actually helps us to serve our patients rather than playing by the rules of the insurance company.
Well, thank you for explaining that. And when we come back, we're going to have interviews with Jeannie and with myself and with another lady who has been a long-term patient of yours. And we're going to talk about what you've done for each of us.
Great.
Stay with us. When we come back with Healing with Dr. Kim, you are going to hear directly from patients. One is myself included. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healing with Dr. Kim. I have the pleasure in this segment of letting you meet Dorothy, who has made a miraculous recovery from an automobile accident. So, Dorothy, welcome to our set. In this segment, Dr. Kim, we're going to talk with you and Dorothy about what you have done to help her make this miraculous recovery. But before we get to that, Dorothy, tell us what happened.
Well, I was headed on a vacation and we were sitting at a stoplight and someone rear-ended us going 68 miles per hour.
Oh my gosh.
Sent us on our front wheels through the intersection and our seats broke, and when the back end of the car came down, I landed in between the seats on the metal and got a shock straight up my spine into my head. Not a pretty sight.
Oh no. Now, I'm sure that also wasn't good because you were a working neonatal intensive care nurse, correct?
Correct.
So tell me a little bit about what that did to you mentally and physically after you got out of the crash scene.
Well, my first concern was, you know, what am I going to do? And I knew I was hurt. And there actually was a baby involved in another car, and I was concerned about the baby.
Well, of course you were, because that's what you did for a living.
Yeah, which in retrospect seems a little strange. That I really was. I kept asking them, is that baby okay? Because it was almost like a part of me wanted to go over there and help them with them. But it was like a life-changing, everything you knew, everything you had worked for was suddenly gone.
How long ago was that?
May 20th, 2004.
Wow. How long did it take you in dealing with what I consider traditional doctors, traditional medicine, before you found Dr. Kim?
Until December 18th, 2006. A date I will always remember.
I'm sure, and I want to say kudos to you and your staff, because obviously that date is ingrained in your mind because of the difference that he and his staff has made.
I will never forget the date. I'll never forget that first visit.
What has your journey been like with Dr. Kim and the staff at Georgia Integrative Medicine?
It's been a journey of them really focusing on every part of my life, trying to help me put the pieces back together.
Literally, I mean, emotionally, physically, and literally helping you get the pieces back, right?
Absolutely, even including making me part of an internship so I could explore holistic nursing.
Wow.
And basically occupational rehab in a way. Spiritual rehab, emotional support, love. Love is the biggest thing, because no matter how difficult it got, and no matter how bad I got, and how many backslides I had, they were always there and never given up on me.
Tell me what the insurance company told you after the diagnosis you got that you would, I mean, but let's go back. What was the diagnosis from the traditional medicine side? I
had some back injuries. They thought at the time I was developing fibromyalgia, and some spinal injury in the sensory and temperature tracts of the spine. And a physician, actual neurologist, explained to me that there was no cure for it, and that I would get worse. I would most probably become depressed and eventually commit suicide, because there was nothing that could be done for me.
I cannot imagine what that does to someone. It's so traumatic that you went through the accident, but then to have a physician to tell you that. What made you find Dr. Kim? I assume, well, I can tell from just talking with you briefly, you're a fighter. So you found Dr. Kim because you weren't going to accept what you had been told, I'm assuming.
I told the physician that I appreciated his honesty, because I think that's what he was trying to do.
Sure.
But that wasn't who I was. And yes, I'm a fighter, and I prayed a lot. I asked for God to give me the team that would know how to help me. And I was introduced to him by a therapeutic yoga specialist who interviewed me to see if it was possible for me to do that avenue. And she told me, she said, Dorothy, I can't touch you with a 10-foot pole right now. We have to get a couple of things under control. And I know an integrative specialist who can help you. And I emailed him.
And you probably got a response within minutes. I know I did when I emailed you. So you've been a patient now of Dr. Kim's for 10 years, right, Dr. Kim? Tell me what it's been like from your perspective, helping her and seeing where she is today.
Yeah. In a way that for us to create the miracles, we need people who are open to miracles. And when I first came here, I prayed that Lord will give us, bless us with His people. And then gradually I realized that I needed to add another part to it. Now we pray, Lord will send us His people who are open to miracles. And Dorothy certainly was very open to miracles. And part of the things that I had to do in treating Dorothy for spinal injury especially was that I had to keep on learning. As a matter of fact, every year I go to different courses, and a lot of times when I'm sitting in those courses, I'm thinking about Dorothy and how I can make it better for her, because in situations like what you went through, Lana, that we are able to create a miracle, and that's done, and we can move on with other things. But when the injury is so grave as Dorothy had gone through, it's not sometimes possible to create that level of transformation that I seek. But the second thing that we were able to do is create a miracle that she will have a life, and she will have the quality of life. Because at the time I saw her, and in those days I went out and greeted the patient, and I brought the patient back, and I was really afraid that she would not faint from the pain, because I could see that she had cold sweats coming out. Every 10 steps she would stop and look. So I just wasn't sure. But what I've done for her is using all the tools at disposal. But I think that what really helped the most was to recognize how much of a professional Dorothy was, and she needed that identity of healer restored for her to be open to greater miracles. And so what I did for her was really interview her and understand her, and and help her and encourage her to go ahead and explore tools in integrated medicine. And she did. She did everything from healing touch, Reiki, to craniosacral therapy, which is an osteopathic technique of gentle manipulation of our head or cranium and the bones that's contained therein. And Dorothy can create miracles using craniosacral therapy. And I think that until recently, when Dorothy decided that it was time for her to fully retire, her work was really outstanding. And I think that helped. And then the different tools that I have developed, it really, like the low-dose naltrexone helped her. And then when that stopped working, I went to a conference for scalp acupuncture, which is a specialized system for spinal injuries and brain injuries. And that helped her. And then most recently, I've taken an advanced course in what they call the pens acupuncture, which is anatomic basis for spinal injury related. And that also has made a huge difference, I think. But I think part of it is that you need a team that will stand behind you and continue to grow with you. And again, it's impossible to do in 5-minute visits. I think that,
absolutely.
You know, when Dorothy comes, it's 1 hour to 1.5 hour treatment sessions, and again, that kind of dedication is not something that you can do in 5-minute, 15-minute visits.
Basically, from what I'm hearing from both of you, Dr. Kim and his staff have given you your life back.
They gave me my life back. They gave me the ability to pick up and love on my grandchildren. I couldn't do that. To visit with them. I can sometimes even rake my yard for about 15 or 20 minutes. I couldn't do that. And doing craniosacral was a gift. It's a gift. Every time I do it, I still do it for my family. And I feel the changes and see the difference in them. It's just another little miracle of the day.
That is, and I think that from what you've told me over this, 10 years now, I guess you've been seeing her, is that not only have you helped to heal her, but you have learned a lot of things yourself. And because you are a healer also, you are now healing and helping others. Isn't it amazing how sometimes what we think are just horrible, horrible things that happen, you know, you always hear things happen for a reason, but look how your life has changed for you to give back and help others while you too continue to heal.
Yes. And many times he would ask me to talk with other pain patients and stuff like that. And the bond that was created there and each of us helping each other was another gift of you have meaning in your life. And I think that that is extremely important in a healing journey.
Oh, I agree with you completely. I think we could talk about this for days. It's very intriguing to me. I'm so pleased and honored that you came today to meet with us and to share your story. And I know that our viewers will know that they too can reach out to you. When we come back from our break, we're going to talk with Jeannie again, and we're going to wrap up this segment. But as we continue our journey with Healing with Dr. Kim, I would like to continue having you as a part of the show to show some of the things that you do through the therapy that you've used in the past, because I think you can share a lot with our viewers. Thank you for being with us. When we come back, we will wrap up with Dr. Kim and the licensed counselor he has with his practice, Jeannie Bowers. Welcome back to our final segment with Healing with Dr. Kim. We're going to be talking with Jeannie Bowers as she came to Dr. Kim as a patient in the beginning. Jeannie, you came to Dr. Kim as a patient with what?
Hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's.
And tell our viewers exactly what that is.
It's hypothyroidism. I don't know. That's his job to know what it is. All I know is that I was diagnosed with it early in my 30s, and I was told I would have to take Synthroid for the rest of my life, and that I would have to go up and up and up and up as I aged. I was one of the very fortunate people, and working every day in our clinic, I'm reminded how fortunate I am that I don't have any real symptoms of it. I don't have any chronic pain. I just get a big dose of gratitude every day at the level of suffering we see on a daily basis that I don't have to experience myself. So I said, okay, so what is wrong with me? We have a preventive medicine clinic. You know, we can put out fires or we can prevent, and I wanted to see, this is the only issue I have, what can we do about it? And Dr. Kim said, well, we'll try low-dose naltrexone. And since I started the naltrexone, I've gone down on my Synthroid from 125 to 50 micrograms. So,
and you feel great?
I feel great. I always feel great. I get to work in the best place in the world with the best doctor in the world. What would I have to complain about?
You know, she and I always, we really connect when I come in for whatever. And I think that is it too. It's like the gratitude that we all need to take day by day, whether we're in the physician's office or whether we're, because just like we talked about during the break, we never know when we're going to be at a red light and someone rear-end us.
You can
and
be
our
Dorothy
life changed
like that.
Forever.
Like that.
So we need to be grateful and thank God for the life we have, and take baby steps if necessary to make those changes. And thank God you found Dr. Kim, and not only did he help you physically, but then you became a part of his practice, which is even better, right?
Oh, as soon as I met him, I said, I got to work with this guy.
Yeah.
He's got something I want.
I have a question for you as it relates to how you know how to handle different types of issues that you deal with. When you and I had talked in our sessions, you know, we talked about my childhood, we talked about a previous marriage, we talked about work stress, but other patients have other things. How do you know how to adjust what you advise and tell them?
Well, primarily I'm looking to see if there's any kind of emotional or stress or trauma trigger for the illness that they originally come for.
Okay.
Very often people, most of the time, have something that is a trigger event that made their immune system go into overdrive from the stress, and now they're sick. And so I'm looking for what that is, because that's where the healing needs to begin. I would say 95% of the time I can find something.
Oh, you found it?
But really what I'm looking for is what's the emotional component of what's going on with you now. We don't have to trace it back, but I would like to know what started it.
Right.
That was then, this is now. I want to move forward, and I want to get results now. And so Dr. Kim and I are very like-minded that way. We are very result-driven. We want to see results quickly. And gratitude, you mentioned, to me is medicine.
Oh, absolutely.
So
it
I
is.
tell people they have to learn how to build their forgiveness muscles, their gratitude muscles, their joy muscles. Dr. Kim will often say this patient is joy deprived. So we have an emotional vocabulary that we use when we're talking about our patients. And I know which muscles I want to go after to help them build and help them refocus their mind on what matters so that their mind can start creating a new reality for them.
Two things I want to bring up here. One is, as we talked earlier in the day, is that probably 99 out of 100 people, if we were to take a poll, need some type of counseling in some aspect of their life. And I think over the years there's been a negative idea
Stigma.
that exactly that you were crazy or whatever. And I think now it is becoming more acceptable. And look, we all have something. You know, Robin Roberts wrote a book a few years ago entitled "Everyone's Got Something." And so when you walk down the street and if a person tends to judge someone else, you don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what they've gone through in the past or why they're acting that way. And I think the one thing that has stuck with me from working with both of you through my situation is that I have to love myself first.
Yeah, love yourself, or even before that, is like yourself, love yourself. One of the things about the integrative medicine that I built is another concept called integrated care. Integrated care is when we're talking about having counselors in the medical offices, and that's actually picking up steam, but that's something that I've been thinking about for last 20 years or so.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I've recruited Jeannie to join practice, how I encouraged her and supported her to become a licensed counselor, because I think the licensure itself is a transformational experience for a healer to go through and to acquire. And I've seen Jeannie grow tremendously. She was always gifted, diamond in the rough, but to see that diamond in the rough become even more brilliant and more beautiful and more glittering was just amazing. But again, in the clinic, that's what I try to do for my patients, to help them to achieve their life goals, not just medical goals, but life goals. And that's why I think there's been a lot of my patients or people I've come across, a lot of the healers in this area actually, I'm very happy to say they were influenced by our clinic. And you know, some of them became acupuncturists, some of them became counselors, and some are now becoming physicians themselves. And Jeannie luckily became a counselor, which we need more help in that department, because there is, like you said, there's a tremendous unmet need. And I would say the discomfort with the counseling is still true, but I think what helps is that we are not a counseling clinic, we're not a psychiatric outfit, although we see a lot of patients with depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder.
But you do it in a comprehensive manner.
Yes, and what's different is that I'm not going to my psychiatrist. You know, I'm going to an integrative medicine clinic, just happens to have a very, very gifted counselor, and that makes all the difference in the world.
I know, as we wrap up, I know back in June, I had what presented itself as a heart attack, and I was in the hospital for a week. It scared the life out of me, because when I was taken into the ER and was told, you know, I had a heart attack, it was because it presented itself that way. The enzymes were elevated, the EKG was abnormal. I had the cardiac cath, I had everything done, and yet the cardiologist could find no reason for me to have had a heart attack. And I came home with medication, and I felt horrible from the medication. And I know that you and Jeannie had been following my progress, because once again, the love and the family feeling that I had with you all in dealing with sciatica, which was nothing compared to being in the hospital with a heart attack. You wanted to see me, And I came into your clinic, and when I got in there, we sat there for a couple of hours, and you said, I have researched, and you have you had a Prinzmetal angina attack. And it is when keep me honest here, the layman's version is when the heart muscles go into spasm because of stress. Plus, I also had an allergic reaction to some pets that I was in at the time, or around at the time. And we then started working together to reduce and control the stress, but also my magnesium level was extremely low. So since June, working with you both, I now am on a different path. I feel 500% better mentally and physically. And then recently we saw that my magnesium levels had gone down again, and now I'm on a different regimen. But once again, I pick back up, but it's not something that is eating away at me, because I don't think I'm going to die of a heart attack. I know what I need to do to control it, and I can do that with the help that I've received from you. And I don't know where I would be if I hadn't visited you. And I have friends who come to you that are the same way, that you have totally turned around their lives. And I think that's our goal in these segments that we're going to have, is to let the community see what you can do, no matter how minor they think it may be or how major or serious. There's something that Georgia Integrative Medicine can do for these patients. Agree?
Yeah, I agree. I feel blessed. When I came to this area, I was in California 10 years ago, and people around me all tried to stop me. They said, if you go to Georgia, there's Atlanta, Georgia, and there's rest of Georgia. So if you're not going to Atlanta, you can't go. But I felt a strong calling to this area, and as I lived in these areas, I can really see why we have so many people who are salt of the earth. And I feel very grateful that, as I pray to God, that He bring His people who are open to miracles. And seeing that miracles unwrap is a gift that I can't really buy. I mean, I can work for a hospital, insurance company, they'll pay me a lot more money, but I won't have that. And like seeing Jeannie be able to do counseling, and I know that it was only possible because as a corporation, we have gone extraordinary measures to back Jeannie and make sure that Jeannie got the education, birth rate, supervision, and create a work setting designed for Jeannie so that she can really do her best work. And I think that that really makes all the difference, because without the infrastructure or the team that I've created, that organizational health that we have, then I wouldn't have the space, emotional space, to love my patients and do what I love doing. Like, for example, Miss Dorothy helps us even now with her expertise in organization and compliance. She would just give us advice. You need to do certain things this way, that way. Miss Vina, who we will hear her story in the near future, basically makes the clinic, Jeannie and I focus on healing, while her being a CPA gives her expertise over running a business and balancing the books, all that good stuff. And this book actually that we, this book actually has all these stories. It has stories about Jeannie, stories about me, stories about Jeannie's husband, about all the volunteers and and Dorothy's chapter is in here, and it's really makes people who have experienced tribulation really make their heart want to cry with her, because it could happen to any one of us.
It absolutely could happen.
All of us stop in red light, and I have the experience that I stopped for a school bus and someone did plow into me. So I know it can happen to anyone, and I think that grace is important, faith is important, but as written in the Bible, I think the love really supersedes it all. And I think that helping people with love and helping people to connect with love with their inner self, their other selves in spouses and family and friends, and their higher self with their relationship with God, and their relationship with the calling that God has given them. I think all of that makes a difference. And all of that helps us to create miracles for our patients.
Amen.
Yeah.
Couldn't be said any better than that. Thank you. I look forward to our next visit when we talk with more patients about what you've done for them. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have enjoyed our first show entitled Healing with Dr. Kim. You'll want to watch for future shows, and you will want to contact them at Georgia Integrative Medicine on their Facebook page or look them up on their website and give them a call. Thank you for joining us.